You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. If you're listening to this show, chances are you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees. Whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades, every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back with another early edition of the Hot Options Report, oral surgery edition. This time, yes. The oral surgeon comes for us all, and today he cometh for me. So I am hopped up on pain pills before I head out to the oral surgery suite. But you know what? Nothing stops the Hot Options Report from coming your way, even if it is a little bit earlier today, doing this about an hour and change before the close. And looks like it's a bit of a red day on the screen out there. Don't tell our good buddy Uncle Mike. We were just a little bit north of 6,500 in the S&P. Kicking off today now, 63.86 as we're kicking off the show. So S&P off of over 70 handles, or a little over one, about 1.15%. So coming back down to earth a little bit. And that also means our old pal VIX ticking up close to an 18.5 in the VIX cash as we're kicking off the show. Also putting up some decent numbers out there. 882,000 contracts on the tape already. VIX likes a good sell-off, and that is indeed the case today. The ADV is up to 842, so we're already in the first couple of days of September, and already we are seeing some hot action, and indeed the ADV getting back north of 800K out there. So hot stuff out there, already beating the ADV. And what is the hot option on a hot day in VIX land? Well, it's the 15.5 puts. Our old pal, the 15.5 puts, taking the top spot yet again. Interesting strike. Going up about 117,000 times right now for an average price of close to 25 cents. Interesting, there is size OI. We have talked about this strike before, obviously. So hard to tell whether they're opening or they're bailing on these now, saying, you know what, I can still get nearly a quarter for them. I'm getting the heck out of Dodge. But right now, that is the hot option out there in VIX land, listeners. As we keep on rolling, let's go out to SPY. You know, SPY and the SPX, they tend to like a little bit of red from a volume perspective, at least as well. Right now, SPY off almost 1.2% as we're coming into this part of the show, about 1.17% out there. Is it a hot day volume-wise out in SPY? The answer is yeah, it's looking pretty decent with over an hour to go in the session, about 6.6 million contracts already. The ADV, 8.02 million, so that's still looking pretty hot out there in SPY land. And what is the hot option on a fairly hot day in SPY? It's 375,000 of these 640 calls, going up for an average price of around 52 cents. Right now, you're probably hoping that you sold those because we're hanging out right around 637.5 in SPY. So if you sold them for $0.50, you could maybe grin and bear it throughout the last hour of the day, and maybe you keep your $0.50. If you bought them, you know the dance by now. You need SPY to get in gear by the end of the day. Speaking of the SPX, let's get out there next. Obviously, the S having a decent red day as well, off about 1.05% or so right now. So a little bit less than SPY, which is kind of interesting. And what is lighting up our tape out there today? Let's see. We've got about 3.55 million contracts going up in the SPX right now. It's against an ADV of 3.88 million. So that is a fairly hot day out there in the SPX. And on a hot day, what's the hot option? The hot option in the SPX today, 117,000 of the 6,400 calls. Again, they all expired today. You know the deal. Average price of nearly $5.20. So they're not giving those bad boys away if you're buying them. We're hanging out right now, 63.93 in the SPX. So obviously you need the SPX to run a little bit for those 6,400s to pay off. Certainly if you bought them for around $5 and change out there. Obviously anything could happen. We've seen a lot of whipsaws in the latter portion of the day in the major indices. So those could easily close well in the money at this point, but not looking great right now for the SPX upside as we go out to small caps. Is it a hot day in IWM? The answer is it's all right. We've seen small caps at 1 million contracts much earlier in the session. They just hit it right now, 1.03 million, pretty much as the show started here. So not exactly the hottest day out there in small caps. By the way, IWM off about 0.9%, so pretty much keeping pace with the major indices today. The ADV is still around 1.5 million contracts. We haven't threatened that in a while, though. That really got elevated a few weeks ago when small caps are putting up well over 2 million contracts a day. We saw the ADV shoot up. We'll see if it starts coming back down if we don't keep hitting that level. But again, there's another hour in the session, so they could get there by then. And what is the hot option out there in small caps today? It's, again, going out a month roughly, a few weeks at least, and some downside. In particular is the 220 puts going up 112,000 times. Average price of $1.35. Again, small caps hanging out right now, 233.15 or so. So they need obviously to sell off a bit by September expiration. But this is a trend we've seen for a while. The number 2 hot option in small caps today, 55,000 of the 220 puts in October. So there's clearly a lot of interest. By the way, it's opening on the 220 puts in October. Not sure. There is OI on the set puts, so there could be a bit of a roll out there as well. If that's the case, though, doing it effectively a half size on the second leg, usually a sign that maybe that spread hasn't worked out. Either way, interesting stuff and a lot of downside lighting up the tape in small caps today as we keep on rolling to our final index. It's the Qs, it's the Nasdaq. Is it a hot day in the Nasdaq? The answer is yeah, it's looking pretty good. Nearly 4 million contracts on the tape already. The ADV about 4.25 million, so I would say definitely going to hit that. Off about 1.1% today in the Qs. And what is the hot option out there today? It's about 165,000 of the 565 calls, again expiring today, going up for an average price of about 85 cents. Qs hanging out 564.25. So obviously we need a little bit more upside by the end of the session for those calls to pay off if you are buying them. But a lot of hot 0-day action going up today in the Nasdaq. In fact, it is 19 for 20 of its top most active options, all expiring today, with the last one, number 20, expiring tomorrow. Hot stuff. Let's go out to single names now, listeners. Is it a hot day in single name equity option land, listeners? Let's find out, shall we? Let's kick things off with our old pal, Robinhood, putting up right now about 378,000 contracts on the tape for good old Hood. Hood hanging out 101 and about a half. So having a nice little run in Robinhood since we first started watching it a little while ago, and it was right around 179 or so. So little pop in the second half of the session here for Robinhood. Still off about $2.50 on the day, or about 2.33% right now. So interesting times for Robinhood, vacillating right around that par strike. 378,000 contracts on the tape today against an ADV of nearly 500,000. So not quite getting there today, but a pretty active day nonetheless. The hot option out there in Robinhood today, about 30,000 of the 110 calls expiring this Friday, average price of about 50 cents. So if you're buying those bad boys, you obviously need Robinhood to run, listeners. 110s by Friday, 50 cents. You like those? And then you're looking for a pretty aggressive turnaround in Robinhood if you're buying those. Either way, that's the number 10 spot right now. 378 is what it cost you to break into the top 10. As we keep on rolling to number 9, it's the Amazonians. 380,000 contracts on the tape for them. The Amazonians hanging out right around 225.5, off about $3.50 or 1.5% right now. And what is the hot option out there in good old Amazon? 22,500 of the 230 calls. Again, expiring this Friday. Average price of about 67 cents. So you know the drill. If you're buying those bad boys, you obviously need Amazon to run a little over $5 to make those bad boys break even. So interesting stuff. Can Amazon do it? Can it get a second wind in the second half of the week? I guess we'll find out, listeners, as we keep on rolling to number 8. It's Alibaba, 408,000 contracts on the tape for good old Baba. Hanging out 137.5, bucking the trend up $2.50 today, or nearly 2%. And what is the hot option out there in a hot day in Alibaba? It's about 43,000 of the 140 calls, again, expiring on Friday. Average price nearly $1.50, about 144 for these bad boys. So you know the drill. If you're buying those, you obviously need Baba to rally. Doesn't have as far to run as, let's say, the Hoods, going all the way up to 110, but it needs to run a little bit by the end of the week. Can Baba get there? I guess we'll find out, listeners, as we keep on rolling to our number 7 offender for the day. This is our old pal, AMD. What's happening in Chipland today? I guess we'll find out. AMD putting up 432,000 contracts for the number 7 spot. AMD hanging out 160.87 right now, so off about $1.75, but seemingly bouncing off their lows they set earlier today. The ADV, I should say, in AMD, say that 5 times fast. The ADV in AMD is pretty impressive, 971,000. So they are averaging nearly 1 million contracts a day in AMD right now. That is wild paper for these names. Shows you how hot the chips have been of late. And the hot option on a hot day in AMD today, 27,000 of the 160 puts. Those are about $1 out of the money puts right now. Average price on those, nearly $3. So they are not giving those bad boys away. That's a 51 vol, if you are wondering. Seemed a little juicy. So right now, yeah, at the money puts, trading for about $3. Would you be a buyer or a seller in AMD right now? These obviously expire at the end of the week. That is our number 7. Number 6, we go out to the land of all things Bitcoin. It is MicroStrategy, aka Strategy now, which, talk about a generic name. We like to call it the Monster, so let's go with that, listeners. Sounds a lot better. The Monster today putting up 440,000 contracts against an ADV of 582 out there. So again, a decently active day, but not explosive. The Monster gaining about $7 or a little over 2%, trading right around 341.5 right now. So a lot of names getting a nice little lift here in the second half of the session here. And what was the hot option on a decently active day in the Monster? It's about 35,000 of the 390 calls. But these are not expiring this week. No, these are the actual September monthlies. So that is one of our exceptions to the rule that everything seems to be expiring on Friday these days. So regular monthly September 390 calls. Average price for these, get this, $4. So if you own the Monster right now at 341.5 and you want to get a little yield, you could sell the 390 calls against it for $4 right now. And if the stock runs all the way to 390, I think you'll probably be happy selling it much higher than it's trading right now. So again, that's some decent juice. If you want a little covered call action and not exactly a risky one, if you cut that in half, if you go to 370, let's say, you're going to get a heck of a lot more juice for those calls. So, wow, a lot of call premium out there in the Monster. Number 1, about 35,000 of the 390 calls. Average price, $4. Fascinating stuff. If you're looking for some covered call action, listeners, maybe you should check out our old pal, the Monster. Let's check out our old friend, the Fruit Company, see how they're doing out there today. The Fruit Company, 228 2/3 off, about $3.50 or 1.5% today, putting up 480,000 contracts for the number 5 spot today. And what is the hot option in the Fruit Company today? About 28,000 of the 230 calls, again expiring this Friday. Not the wildest strike we've seen. Average price of about $2.20. Obviously, Apple can easily get there by tomorrow, let alone by the end of the week. So if you think there's a turnaround in store, maybe you like these. If you don't, maybe you like selling them for $2.20. Interesting stuff. Or you could just sell the 390s in the monster for $4. As we keep on rolling to the number 4 spot, listeners, it's our old pal Palantir putting up 609,000 contracts. For the number 4 spot today, Palantir hanging out 157.25, up about $0.50. Another one kind of bucking the trend of red on the screen out there today. Putting up 609,000 contracts again today, and the ADV is another one. It's averaging over 1 million contracts now, 1.06 million. So that's a hefty average. You don't see Palantir hitting 1 million too often, so kind of interesting. Doesn't seem like it's going to get there today, but got about an hour left in the session. And the hot option out there in Palantir, about 52,000 of the 150 puts expiring this Friday. Average price of about $1.64 for these. So interesting. We've seen Palantir break that 150 handle multiple times over the last few weeks. Each time it has aggressively bounced back through it. So an interesting strike selection. I'm not giving them away, about a 63 vol if you're wondering. If you like them, maybe you like buying those. If you prefer, if you don't mind a little bit of whipsaw action and maybe sweating a bit throughout the second half of the week, you can obviously sell those. Either way, about 52,000 of the 150 puts for Palantir is our hot option as we keep on rolling to number 3. All right, listen, let's get open. Open hanging out nearly $5 today, $4.92, up $0.50. This name is just absolutely wild. Putting up 770,000 contracts on the tape today. The ADV 863, so looks like it's going to threaten that today. And what is the hot option out there in open today? About 120,000 of the 5 calls. So go figure, the 5 calls. Take a guess right now, really quickly. I'll give you 3 seconds, listeners. What's a 5 call trading for? Expiring at the end of this week in open. Stock hanging out $4.91 right now. 3, 2, 1, go. Did you guess about 25 cents? Then you are the winner chicken dinner. 25 cents for that lottery ticket. You like it? Would you buy that? Would you scratch that ticket off? Or would you say sold to you? Either way, a lot of folks slinging those in open today. For our number 3 spot, that means 2 and 1 kind of coming as you might expect. Number 2, it's our old pal Tesla. 329.25 off 463, or about 1.4%. So bit of a red on the screen type of day for Tesla, putting up 1.1 million contracts today for Tesla. That's against an ADV of 2.12, so I don't see them threatening that level today. And what was the hot option out there in Tesla today? It's about 55,000 of the 330 calls expiring at the end of this week. Average price $6.25. So again, these are pretty rich, but Tesla has been known to move. It's about a 49 vol if you are intrigued. So 330 calls taking the top spot, followed by number 2, 53,000 of the 330 puts. So could be a bit of conversion reversal action taking the top spot out there as well. Either way, 330s this Friday, 6.25. You like those? Would you be a buyer or a seller, listeners? As we get to the number 1 hot option on our equity option list today, you know what it is. It's Nvidia. It's the big dog. Putting up 2.64 million contracts right now, listeners. So a decent day for them. ADV of 2.81. So definitely seems on pace to hit that with about an hour to go left in the session. And Nvidia right now selling off 4 1/3 or about 2.5%, breaking that 170 handle, trading 169.82. And what is the hot option out there in Nvidia today? It's 133,000 of the 170 calls expiring again this Friday. You guessed it. 256 is the average price for those. So 170s, pretty close to the at the money strike right now, listeners. 256. Would you be a buyer or a seller of those options at that price? Hit us up. Let us know. All right, that is going to do it for this pain pill oral surgery addled edition of the Hot Options Report. I see our chat. Actually, most people have been excited that I've been hopped up on pain pills today, because you're right. Today is the day, looking in our chat, of our Options Insider Fantasy Football Draft. So you should be excited that I'm on pain pills, because I'm going to pick, who knows what I'm going to pick. I could pick 5 kickers in a row. So look forward to that. That makes your job a little bit easier. But I appreciate some of you actually having concern for me and saying, oh, make sure you don't take any of those pills before the draft. I appreciate that. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see what the oral surgery gods allow me to do tomorrow in terms of live content. We'll see. We'll try to get something out for you. And then, of course, hopefully if all smiles upon me, we shall be back for the option block with the Flowmaster on Thursday, as well as Twifo on Thursday, as well as, of course, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.